sampah sembarangan. Udah tahu sampah biang masalah, buang sampah pada tempatnya lah.
Iya ya, kalau bukan kita siapa lagi? Ayo kita buat Jakarta jadi bersih.
Selamat pagi.
Selamat pagi. Ya, saya pelantikan. Iya. Saya datang.
PIB semua.
Iya. Se-PIB datang.
Silakan. Welcome to City Hall. I will give to Prof. Sangkot.
Thank you, Bapak Gubernur yang saya hormati. First of all, let me thank you on behalf of my colleagues for receiving us today. This meeting is the follow-up of what our company has discussed with you previously, which is the possibility of two companies providing science-based policy advice in helping your government. I think I've seen your slide in YouTube, so I'm a formality short. Let me ask Professor Wakil to explain more detail.
Good morning, Your Excellency, and thank you for this meeting. So I am Alan Finkel, I'm the President of the Australian Academy of Engineering. I'm also the Chancellor of Monash University. In my previous slides, I was a electrical engineer and a neuroscientist. Here in my capacity as the President of the Australian Academy of Technological Science and Engineering, we are very committed, as Sangkot has just said, to providing ordinary not exclusively evidence-based advice in the realms of technological sciences and engineering. And one of the areas in which we have, through our fellowship, enormous experience is in ordinary city of Jakarta. And it's in that context that we've come here to meet with you today. We absolutely appreciate the invitation to see you.
Okay, so
mungkin saya memberikan orang yang ini begini dipesan bahwa ini adalah pengelolaan sumber daya air dan minyak. Pertama adalah konservasi, kedua pengelolaan, ketiga adalah daya rusak. Kalau kita akan kerjasama selama ini banyaknya daya rusak, dan kelihatannya ini
So I will just introduce my two colleagues, and I'll leave it to Professor Sangkot to speak to others. Professor Undelicate, in a moment, will give you a short presentation. He is a Professor of Engineering at Monash University. She's also the Director of the Water Cities Group. From the point of view of the Academy of Technological Sciences and Engineering, she's the Deputy Chairman of our Water Commission. And last year she was honoured as the Victorian Scientist of the Year. So she will give a presentation, but let me also introduce John Bradley, who is, and previously he was Commissioner of the National Water Commission. His list of past experiences is huge, but those are some that I thought was worth focusing on. And we have worked with our colleagues to prepare this. So Anna, would you like to
Yes, please, but while you're going there, let me just introduce briefly like what Prof. has done, my colleagues. We have invited Ibu Australia from the Australian Embassy, so whatever we are talking about today, there will be a connection to the Australian Embassy. I know the relationship is not too good at the moment.
Not talk about politics.
So she's here.
Even our president doesn't make any comment, just Twitter.
Prof. Sjamsu, we have met before, the chairman of our Medical Science Commission and the commission that started this activity, Professor Melin Kui, a member of our Commission for Social Sciences.
No, far before. The same organization.
Dr. Ali Mokhtarju, member of the Commission of Engineering of our Academy, and Dr. Cahyono, that you have met before, also member of our Medical Science Commission. Dr. Rihanna is a professional assistant helping us. When you follow up when we discuss it.
Okay, I would like to make a presentation about integrated urban water management paradigm that we are doing in Australia, which we believe could be implemented in Jakarta as well. And as you can see, presentation comes from both academies. So what are the challenges? We have problem in Australia as well as here with rapid urbanization. So lots of people are living in very dense urban areas. Climate change is another issue, which means flooding, which means droughts, all sorts of things which are coming with a variable climate. What we believe is that urban water management impacts all aspects of urban life. So it's not just about delivering water services, but also delivering prosperous, vibrant cities. And I will just quickly explain history of urban water systems. At the top you see social political drivers, more or less why things happened the way it happened, and at the bottom is a service delivery functions, which obviously is about response of engineers usually to the problems that society has. So at the start you can see that basically we had need for clean water, and answer was supply of our cities. Then, of course, there was a need to collect sewage and deal with sewage, mainly to protect public health. And answer was separate sewage systems. So, particularly in London, they put these big pipes to collect sewage even 200 years ago. Around the war, Second World War, and after it was realized that flooding is a huge problem because it obviously impacts on properties and damages our assets. Drainage as a separate system happened in some areas, while in others it was done in one big pipe. What happened then around 60s, particularly in countries like Australia and America, was a huge huge outcry for protection of our rivers and creeks, pollution basically. And as answer, we had lots of management strategies to basically deal with both point and non-point or diffuse pollution, such as, for example, stormwater runoff. In Australia recently, in the last 15 years, we had a huge issue with drought. We just did not have enough water. Limited natural resources is something that's facing lots of other countries, not just Australia. And the answer was basically fit-for-purpose systems that can integrate now these other three streams we talked about. And that's called water cycle cities. So that's the new paradigm which slowly emerged. What we are talking here really is about the next step. It's about intergenerational equity, resilience to climate change. These are all issues that we are all facing about, as I said, cities becoming denser. So if we use everything now, what's going to stand for the future? And also climate change, flooding, and all sorts of issues. So for that, we developed these strategies of water-sensitive cities that I would like to present. And this is about adaptive, multifunctional systems. It's about systems that offer more than one value to your city. They just don't do water supply or sewage or drainage. They're trying to actually do stuff in one go in more economical way. And as you can see on this continuum, these water-sensitive cities, it captures all other attributes. So it's not like it's extension of what we've been doing. So what is this water-sensitive cities idea? We can explain it through three pillars, like three main principles. The first one is that your city should become a water supply catchment. It's actually, we should think about using what we have within your area, not importing, but thinking about what we've got. The next principle is that cities are healthy environments. They're beautiful, green, and clean. And of course, they support water-conscious citizens. So I'll go slightly into each of these things. So cities and water supply catchments, it's all about using, as I say, water we have. And this slide just illustrates that in 4 largest cities in Australia, we have more stormwater and wastewater than water we use. So this is how much we use in Perth, this is how much we discharge of wastewater, and this is how much we actually generate as runoff from our cities. So if you can see that these two together are much bigger than this, that means that our cities are net producers of water. They should not be taking water from other areas, they should be relying on what we've got. But for that, and particularly to confront these uncertainties that we are facing in future, we need diversity of resources. We should not be just about one type. It's dams and groundwater, desalination, recycled water, rainwater, stormwater harvesting. So we must use all these different opportunities in different scales, as we said, to deliver what we need. And we should use green infrastructure. These are some of the systems which we are building in Australia to actually harvest, for example, stormwater and deliver not just water for people, but protect against flooding and particularly green our cities. So they look attractive, they actually attract businesses, and they're prosperous. So that's this bit. It's about being healthy, green, and cool. So flood protection, as I said, river and groundwater quality improvements, but also reducing urban temperature. We know that greenery can help combat problem with heat waves. We all go to a forest when it's hot because it's nicer actually there than being in a concrete jungle. And finally, we believe that this approach should actually take people with us in this journey. So we should educate our citizens and not just educate, but draw from their knowledge so that these cities have a better future. Academy of Technological Sciences has been working quite hard on water issues because of our problems that we've been facing in Australia. And what we are finding that governance, urban water governance is the key. If we have that well done, then everything flows. So I just want to finish with an introduction of leapfrogging concept. So the study was done by UNESCO using exactly this continuum which was developed at Monash University, and they found that the majority of developed cities, like for example Melbourne, are in this area of between drain and waterway cities. And they need to do this to come to water-sensitive cities. But it is very hard. Why it's hard? Because we invested lots of money in very rigid infrastructure, large channels, large pipes, lots of pumping. So it's very actually hard, although it's kind of not that far away. What UNESCO found was that developing cities are really here. They looked 30 odd cities, and they found that they are there. And to come to this place, it looks like very far away, but as we have this in mobile, for example, communications, it was found that actually this is easier. Why it's easier? Because we have better opportunities to leapfrog to these futures, because developing cities have not invested heavily in rigid infrastructure that now we have. It's called lock-in. You're not, developing cities are not locked into these old solutions. So it's actually economically more feasible for them to leapfrog. And as I said, everyone's aware of what mobile communications did, what revolution it caused. So we are talking about similar thing here. At that point, I would like to finish, and thank you for giving us this opportunity to come and talk to you. Any questions?
Thank you. So, would you like to explain first? Basically, what we have shown is we have the capacity of a wider sort of policy integrated advice, or just addressing a specific.
Clearly put. But I think what we're trying to present here is the possibility of two things. One is a very integrated approach where we're not looking at just at sewage, just at flooding, or just at catchment, but an integrated approach which will ultimately lead to what is now being called a water-sensitive city, not just a city that's enabled by having flowing water, but a completely integrated water-sensitive city to lead from. To go from one point along that continuum to the end point without going through every stage. And that's a critically important concept. And as Anna mentioned, there are many precedents for this kind of thing. That one of the most famous is telephones in India, where at the start of this century, around 2000, it was a terrible situation. You had to wait 5 to 10 years and pay bribes to get on. So there was that leapfrogging that just bypassed the need to roll out infrastructure and delivered an excellent solution. So I just wanted to point out those are the two things that I thought were most important. The integrated approach and the possibility of using a leapfrog to jump and miss out some of the steps to get close to the end point.
And maybe just to add, I'm sorry we wanted to make it short and sharp. I didn't have time to talk a lot about technologies which we are offering, but maybe you see we are talking about a mixture of centralized and decentralized systems. So having precinct scale, for example, solutions for sewage, which are using some of the latest technologies, as well as treatment options which are done in a landscape way. So you've seen some green systems there. They look like parks, but actually treat water.
komentar nggak?
Jakarta ini kan punya khas sendiri kan. Artinya,
langsung ke mereka.
ya, mungkin terjemahin nanti Pak ya.
Bagus saja.
Jakarta ini memiliki 2.000 sampai 4.000 mm hujannya ya, per tahun. Kalau kita ambil yang minimum, yang 2.000 saja, itu sudah mencapai 3 miliar meter kubik. Padahal kebutuhan untuk Jakarta 12,5 juta, kira-kira 1 miliar. Artinya kita sangat berlimpah. Jadi untuk treatment itu mungkin nomor berikutnya gitu. Artinya bagaimana kita mengelola sumber air tawar ini yang kalau musim hujan banjir, kalau musim kemarau kering gitu. Itu mungkin masukan untuk Jakarta, walaupun bentuknya bukan.
Ya, bagus saja Mas.
Terima kasih Pak. According to Mr. Marjuki, that in Jakarta we have plenty of water resources with rainfall about 2,000 until 4,000 millimeters a year. So how we can manage the plenty of water resources to be useful for Jakarta? Besides that, we have plenty a lot of problem for the drainage city and flood control itself. We many problem for the drainage city because of the garbage and the utility gets that the crossing the ditch, the channel. It causes flood locally. But besides that, we have catchment area outside of Jakarta that send the water to Jakarta, make flooding in Jakarta. So that is our problem right now, and we have also the future plan for giant seawall that we will catch the water for the water resources itself. With the water in the river itself, because so many pollutants in river. That's our problem for the moment. Thank you.
Work a lot in Singapore, so I'm finding lots of similar issues. And of course you have to treat that water, and some of these green systems, they install there to catch and treat before you can use it. So they're called biofiltration, so natural gravity, low energy, no energy. So exactly.
Thank you. I think the first to solve the water problem in Jakarta is we have to have a very well sewage as a wastewater management.
Yes.
Yeah, because Jakarta until today we only have a 3% coverage area for this sewage. And JICA already give us a study about this, but not a detailed engineering design. I think what we want is how your experience, technology, Australian Academy, Indonesia Academy, to help us. Maybe this, we have also a company, PT PAL. We have PAL is a pengolahan air limbah, wastewater management company. This is 100% our company. It's more easy. This is because of business. We already have the rough mapping from the study from the JK for the whole Jakarta. And we also asked our company like PT Jakarta Propertindo to do this in Waduk Pluit. You know Waduk Pluit in the northern side have a dam, 80 hectares. They will develop this wastewater management too. I think this is very important, how we work together. Use about that. I think we need to talk to Ibu Yani, Ms. Bapada, how to we put in our budget next year this Indonesian, how to say, Academy Politik, Indonesian Academy of Science and Australian to put together as an academic technology, and so we will know what we have to do.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think this time is not talking about the technology or about the science. We know everything.
Yeah.
We already know everything. Because no need to prove to this right or wrong. Australia is success. Singapore is success. We just copy, but we need is a leapfrog. We don't want to follow your experience before. Now you have the latest technology, the latest success, so we just want to make a leapfrog to here. So I think Indonesian Academy of Science in Australia and our planning board and Bugiani, how to do this? Maybe we have to prepare a budgeting for the next year. It's more important. Yeah, and we could directly in action use our company. Mungkin lebih cepat begitu. Yeah, so we hitungnya. And if we could to solve this problem in 4 years, it's better. The whole Jakarta. Yeah, we don't want to say we need 10 years or 20 years. We don't like that. Our period in this office left 4 years. So, we are a political shit, you know. We don't know what happened after 2017. But at least in 5 years, so still left 1 year, we left the office, nobody could stop the project again. Yeah, that's what we want.
That's a great idea.
I suppose one of the issues, as we see it, and in our experience in Australia, is that we have technologies, and equally, I guess you just said you have the technologies. That's really not a problem. You then got the issue, do you have the skills to reliably use the technology? And in Australia, some people have had less than favourable experiences. You know, we've had little disasters. So it's important that there's also community trust in the water companies. When you start talking about, say, stormwater or recycling of water, you have the technology, you need the competence of the people, but you've also got to have an adequate monitoring system. But more particularly, you must have the confidence of the users. And I guess we've had examples where the community hasn't immediately accepted some of the approaches. They worry about where the water's coming from, where you really need to address what is the water you're providing, never mind where it's come from. If the technology is right, what's the quality of the water? So in that 4 years or whatever it is, you have to take your community with you in the sort of changes you need to introduce. And sometimes we haven't always done that successfully. And I think that's a message. Now, one of our big projects in the Water Recycling Centre is how to engage the community in terms of their technology so they're comfortable with the sort of changes we're suggesting. So, you know, that's some of the experience that we've had. And there's been similar experience in North America. San Diego, for example, in California, totally rejected water recycling 10 years ago. Toilet to tap, don't like that. That's worrying about where it comes from. Now San Diego has agreed, turn around, the newspapers have said they were wrong. The community is willing to accept other sources of water. You can't depend on any one source. You get what is the most appropriate source for your city. So what may be appropriate for Jakarta, maybe a different combination for Bandung or Bali or wherever. So each city is different, and you need to look at your options and take the community with the sort of decisions you have to make, I guess. I mean, the sort of experiences we've tried to follow, not always successfully, but we've got to do.
I think what Wagub has mentioned to us before, basically is, you know, Jakarta has all of these technologies and all of these projects already started or going on or going to be started. But what he actually said, exactly what we have in mind is how can we help to put this together to live forward with Jakarta. I think that's probably what Wagub was.
Yeah, we just-
because that's our expertise.
We just only have 3% coverage for the wastewater management in Jakarta. It's been 97% just go through the river. That's why we have the main river, 13 river, but we lack of the water resources.
Yes.
If we could solve this problem of the sewage, then we believe all our river become the huge supply for fresh water. And another technology is like a river osmosis. You could imagine in the real estate in the northern side of Jakarta, the river osmosis costs only 7,000 $0.7 US per cubic meter. Their cost, production cost. They sell 12,000 rupiah until 17,000 rupiah. This is huge of money. That's why I talked yesterday. Now everything has changed because Jakarta many the study is already 20 years ago. Like we said, we want to make a giant seawall, to make a big reservoir for water. I said, for what? That time is true because the river osmosis technology is still expensive. But today, cheap. You could imagine, like I live in the northern side of Jakarta. I pay the water 17,000, $1.7 US per cubic meter. This is river osmosis. I asked my province company to invest in this area. So why you have to make a big giant seawall just for the reservoir of water, fresh water, and you have a 2 power plant, you have a 43,000 employee for the fishery industry, and you have 5,000 fishermen. You have to cut all of them, move to them, just for the fresh water. This is ridiculous for me. This is 20 years ago. Like yesterday, I talked to the German consultant and German ambassador. Our mass rapid transit designed and want to start 28 years ago. At that time, the property moved to the southern side of Jakarta. That's why they think they need the MRT from the south to the north. That's right, that time. But after the past 10 years, 20 years, the property moved to the east and west side. And now, the transportation is more come from the east and west. And because the study used 20 years ago, we start our MRT from south to north. That's crazy. And how about the east and west? We have to wait maybe after this complete 7 years and do this. I said, no, you have to do this now. East and west. If you don't want to help us, we will find another country to help us, or we will use our money to invest this. This I think is same about water. We're just thinking about how to bring the fresh water from the dam in Jatiluhur. That's a big and huge project. We have to spend $1 trillion rupiah. We have an east canal, front canal, Banjir Kanal Timur, on the east side. You know what happened to this canal? Just let the water go up to the sea. Why don't you make, I don't know if it's right or not, it's just my thinking, like in Europe. Why don't you make a crossing gap in the east Banjir Kanal Timur ini? So we could make the water not get out to the sea very fast. But in the rainy season, we just open. So you could imagine this Banjir Kanal Timur, if you make this water not go out to the sea, you could also use this as a water transportation. And especially like for cooking oil and other we have a potential 1 month, the rest of cooking oil, 70,000 liters. We turn this usually, then the technology is cheap now. You could turn this cooking oil to become biodiesel, to put in your bus. That's a green city, smart city. So you get through the water. And that's what we want to make the road. We buy it from them, maybe 3,000 rupiah a liter, it's okay. We just buy, we just produce the 1,000 rupiah. We have a very cheap biodiesel. We put in our bus. We could give, like in Australia, put a blue cat, yellow cat, red cat, free of charge in Jakarta, the metro. And this one, now I need help is how to make this wastewater management, the sewage, accomplished in the whole Jakarta in these 5 years.
Okay, so there is water in it. If you can get it into a condition you can reuse it, which has a value. There's phosphorus in it. There's potentially cooking oil in it, which raises the issue of managing, you might say, pollutants going into the wastewater system, whether they're from industry or from fish and chip shops. Indeed, Australia has recycled cooking oil from fish and chip shops to run an aeroplane from Melbourne to Adelaide a few months ago. I'm not sure that's a terribly long-term reliable source of running aeroplanes, but we need to look at the whole thing as a resource with value and see how to get the best value out of it for particular purposes. And that's the way of the future. And in the case of, say, stormwater, we have parts of local government in Australia that actually have used just natural wetlands to purify water and then distributed it around to irrigate in the dry season all of their overhauls facilities, and they store it underground. By storing it underground, they're offsetting excess draw on groundwater with even a risk of subsidence, which is a big issue, say, in Bangkok. I don't know whether it's an issue here, and how much you use groundwater, but all of these things have to be brought together in how you manage your water resources, which I think pretty much is what you're suggesting.
So it's exactly that if you can integrate solutions that can tackle more than one problem is exactly what we are talking here about. And also mixture of, as we call it, decentralized. So on a neighborhood scale, particularly for wastewater management, you should not, and it's too expensive, dig huge pipes to collect all sewage like we do in Melbourne and treat it at 2 spots. You can't do it, it would cost. But then neighborhood scale management and recycling, grey water easily can be recycled, cheap on low energy systems, wastewater on slightly more energy greedy. So if you do it in a clever way, starting from your, as we call it, household, and managing that, not going for huge centralized solutions which would cost a lot of money and won't work. And we are actually now breaking them. In a way, it's actually hard to see lots of engineering projects which were put in place in the 60s now being decommissioned because they're bad for environment. So it's much better for you to jump to these integrated solutions which are actually economically more viable and that we are now going into paying lots of money. So that's...
Again,
I think maybe it's time for us to talk more specifically in terms of what...
Yeah, we have to have a lot of them. I think you need to take our Deputy Governor, is a special, spesial itu kata Arwan itu spesial, special planning, spatial planning, and then yeah, we have deputy. Yes, you have met him. Yes, the facility.
But perhaps we can sort of indicate to you.
Enjoy from Holland or bakery.
Perhaps we can indicate to you what academies can do in the context of what you're talking about. But before I ask our producer, Prof. Sjamsu, you have any comment on?
No, not at the time. I just remind us all that when I talked to Ibu Handayani yesterday, what we need is actually what the Gubernur has said, a very specific objective within this next 4 or 5 years. And that should be supported by a notion or by a by an expression from the governor or the Wakil Gubernur of Jakarta to put it into writing so we can work on it immediately. Maybe after the meeting, immediately before our friends from Australia will leave us today. So what we need is just a surat yang 4 tahun itu Pak, bahwa 4 atau 5 tahun saja, bahwa integrated solution for water problem in Jakarta.
Now, to do that, perhaps we should listen to.
Dari mana nih?
Sudah diundang Pak.
Ini
Dari BPHD Pak.
Oh, BPHD.
Siap.
Ya, kita mungkin bikin surat aja kepada Akademi Buatan Indonesia. Ya kan? Kita pengen minta jaringan solusi bagaimana untuk bisa we could do in these 4 years, 5 years, what you could help us, and we want to do this right. Professor Alan and Professor Anna said it's right. How we have to efficient and low cost solution. We don't want to follow the high cost of the 60s idea. Now everything changed. The technology, many things have changed. Different with the time.
Okay, so at the risk of, I'll try not to be too specific, but I would like to just walk you through what we've given you here. The first page is just words that try to capture what Anna has already presented. So I do not propose discussing that. If you turn to the second page, there's a big section on key issues. We cannot possibly go through them, but these are the things that have to be kept in mind. And Your Excellency, as you said, not all of these they don't need new technology. It's like, for electricity and energy, you don't need new technology. You need the capacity to integrate them in, to pay for them, to get community acceptance. So that list is really there to indicate the breadth of what needs to be dealt with, but not everything has to be developed at high expense or anything like that, and we're not able to do that. What I would like to focus on is this little section called the proposed way forward. And this is what the academies working together can do, which is to bring together our collective expertise in some sort of guiding capacity, but only, of course, if it's something that you see to be valuable. We think it is, but it's got to be clear to you too. So the first thing would be to take what we've discussed today and turn that into a formal submission, a formal project proposal, which would cover the work, the governance, how it's organised, and the cost of doing the work. And when I say work, I'm talking about the analysis and the delivery of evidence-based advice. I'm not talking about primary research. That's not the job of these academies. We have companies that do that, we have universities that do that, but we have the expertise to bring in the primary research into a overarching set of advice. So the second would be to get going after we've got the go-ahead on the proposal, to actually get a workshop happening, which would be representatives from the Indian Academy, from our academy, from the government, from any relevant expert companies, to start brainstorming what it is that we really want to achieve. Because we don't want to go for years and years and years with email back and forth. Let's get everybody in a room and walk out with a specific set of proposals and what are the guiding principles that need to be addressed to water management. At that point, we would sign off and we would establish what we tend to call an expert working group. An expert working group would be co-chaired between the Indian and Australian academies.
Indonesian,
I'm sorry, apologies. The Indonesian, my apologies. Between the Indonesian and Australian, I should have said Austrian. Between the Indonesian and Australian academies, and have the relevant experts. Just to emphasise, Anna, who's a fellow of the Academy, and John, a fellow of the Academy, they're not the only two. We have many fellows. They're representative of the expertise through the university sector and the industry sector in this area. And we would invite in the relevant experts, and the intention would be to drive the process. And what the process would undertake is the 4 things I've got in section 4. So we can't go in and ignore everything that's already been happening. We need to survey what are the best practices in Jakarta today, the best practices and the best policies, where do they stand? We need to understand item B, we need to understand and evaluate what's already been delivered and what's in process, what's pending. We have to look at what Jakarta needs, the biophysical and social. So, what are the actual physical issues in Jakarta and what is the social context of those physical issues have to be delivered under? And then it's our job as an expert working group, if we proceed on this, to synthesise all of that and come up with an evidence-based advice so that in a relatively quick time frame, changes can be implemented, and in an economical time frame, so that, as we've already discussed quite a lot here, that we don't invest in old world thinking, which in the 1960s we did in Melbourne. We thought it was fantastic, and now we're paying the price. And we invested probably not tens, but hundreds of billions of dollars over those years to get to where we are. It's very expensive. So then we would deliver a final report. It's up to, of course, to the government to decide what they want to do with that. And then, if it is adopted, then through agreement there will be follow-up opportunities in terms of promoting the work, perhaps providing some guidance and oversight on demonstration projects, whatever it is that was desired by Jakarta and the government of Jakarta people. So that was our little snapshot of what we think is an appropriate way forward.
Really what we can do. I think the idea is we know that we have to use the neighborhood a small scale for us. Now next year we want to do is in the Waduk Pluit, the first Waduk Pluit is the north side. So the environment there, many real estate, they could not throw the water to the sea again. They have to get back to the Waduk. Like in Panenda Kapuk is already good. This is a private sector do Panenda Kapuk. All the water until they could drink directly now in this real estate, but this is private. And we want to move to the Pluit. So I think this is a good idea. One place. Like we have a Setiabudi now. Setiabudi is our power system. It's only the building office, go to the Setiabudi. Setiabudi is begitu kan?
Yeah.
So we forget about the huge panel for...
Exactly, yeah. And planning regulation as well. Because if you have smart planning regulations, then having a demonstration sites like you explained, that's showcasing what can be done, that then with good planning regulations, that's then replicated all over the city. So it becomes like, infectious disease. You have a nice showcase, and then but you need regulations to infiltrate this everywhere. But what Alan was talking more like how we could approach this in a systematic way, so that by end of it, the step 6 would be basically going into real examples and doing exactly that, creating systems which will be your showcase systems, and then you can, with smart governance, as we call it, or smart policies, you can replicate everywhere.
I am not understand about the technical. Yeah, I come here this morning to spot that I agree. This meeting very important. We are a politician like that. Just to show we have a political will to do this. We will fully support what immigration, what anything, including budgeting, we could find to solve this problem. Thank you for Australia. Forget about the spy.
If I could apologise on our
I think this was a good idea to hear everything talk. It's very noisy to hear what's talking about.
Okay, well, anyway, this is a much more significant proposal than a Twitter sentence. We really appreciate your confidence in us bringing this forward, and I believe we can deliver something very meaningful in conjunction with our colleagues. It would be what you want, not what we're pushing upon you.
So you agree, and then we can start moving.
Yeah, now-
and then we can talk about more detail later.
Now, this time they put in the memo, you know, UDK. What is UDK? UDK is the meaning untuk diketahui. For your information. Untuk diketahui. The same for your information. I think, what is that UDK? So I did the staff, you know, when I first get in this office, the staff teach me. This name is like this. And TL. What is TL? Tindak lanjut. Tindak lanjut that's when you just follow up. So we have to learn.
Well, people say LOL, lots of luck. All right, next one.
Terima kasih banyak.
Yeah, thank you. But you have to enjoy the Holland bakery. This is a famous bakery in Jakarta.
Very good.
And then another job. Cholesterol, no cholesterol. Cholesterol level in the food. Cholesterol not in the food. Just the office of the former governor, Prof. Now his office is become my office. This floor is the former governor office. Now, what the story is, this floor is for the vice governor. Pak is the vice governor first. The governor is on the first floor. But when he was become a governor, he doesn't like to have an office on the first floor. So he still keep his office. So he took two offices, second floor and first floor. And the vice governor probably had to go to the third floor. Now, back to the vice governor. So Mr. Foggy worked 10 years in this floor.
Here, this floor. This is more important than the main building. Or is this within the main building?
No, this is
No.
annex.
This building is a bridge between two buildings. The old and the new building have a bridge, two floors.
You made a comment about cholesterol on Australian TV on ABC. They've just done a big investigative reporting on the last 30 years of advice from doctors on cholesterol, and they've said to the public that it's rubbish. People don't watch their diet, don't take statins, many people will die. But the ABC went out and found some doctors who were against it and say it's rubbish. The one thing that always comes back to is do lots of exercise. And we have a fellow at the academy who would say you should never sit for more than 1 hour in a meeting. You have to get up every 45 minutes, 30 seconds, all day, and walk around. That's how we survive.
Yeah, we also got many good pedestrians. We help people to walk, have a safe, cozy pedestrian or body.
It's difficult.
There's motorcycle.
Yeah. Everywhere.
Here is talking about the law enforcement. They just put they just increase the fine. Before only $5 everybody is paid. Now we increase $50. Fine for you to use the pedestrian, the street. The landlord can put the rent state. And then we said, what's wrong with us? I moved the horse to the lower cost from the dam.
45 minutes flight.
Okay, fantastic. I'll do that.
I don't guarantee if lose something.